You know what I'm thinking about right now?
That you want to strangle me?
Is how the heck have I made it almost 29 years being married to you? That's what I'm thinking at the moment.
Because I am a
Annoying,
funny,
frustrating,
loving,
frustrating,
kind
and annoying.
pot stirrer.
I don't like that phrase, pot stir.
Why?
It makes me think of pot stickers, and it just reminds me that I'm pretty hungry right now.
Pot stirrer reminds you of pot stickers. If I think about pot stirrer, it's really just like a chef stirring the pot. But I also think it could be marijuana.
There you go. Every time cannabis comes up, and it hasn't even come.
My secret desire to be a bud tender.
Yeah.
But I don't think I want to actually use any.
You just want to garden with marijuana.
No, I want to work in the store.
Oh, in the store.
Be a bud tender. And you can say, I want some marijuana that makes me feel this way. I go, hey.
We were bartenders together in recovery.
That's true.
Yeah. But I don't really care about our story anymore. I want to hear about our guest story today.
Well, I think you like Juan.
I do. Well, he's got a really nice sweater on.
And you don't like my Orca t-shirt?
I do like the Orca t-shirt. I just like a well-dressed man.
Okay.
Is that inappropriate?
Everybody's crazy about a well-dressed man. Do you know what that's from?
No.
ZZ Top.
I definitely did.
Oh my gosh. How have we been married for?
Think R&B.
If you don't even know ZZ Top. Well-dressed man. Sharp-dressed man, actually. Everybody's great.
Because they have unkempt facial hair.
Hi, Juan.
You guys are so hilarious. I loved it.
So you're on the Recovery Matters podcast. Are you nervous?
I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm excited. I'm so excited.
So here's an opening question.
Yes.
What matters about recovery that you'd like to discuss?
What matters about recovery that I like to discuss?
What matters about recovery?
I've seen that. I think the matters that I like to attack are culture competence, and then just, what I love about CCAR is I was able to recognize my own biases towards helping others, and just really being able to be open-minded and willing to help others with different beliefs, different standards, and just making a complete 180 to my mind frame and my thoughts about.
All right, hold on. I got to follow up. What was it before and what's it like now? Why do you say like cultural competence?
I think.
Are you talking about pathway?
Well, yes, pathways, absolutely. I think it was more for me. Going through my incarceration, they were forcing like a 12-step program onto me, and I enjoyed it, but there were certain things that I wanted to kind of tweak my way. Like, hey, maybe I don't have to do this step right now, but I can get back to it later.
Yeah.
I think that's and not only that, but my religion also. I grew up in a church, Christian, Pentecostal. My mother, implicated so many good things and morals into our home. She was always working hard, single mom. My dad was affected by drug disorder, and it was heroin. Early in my childhood, I recognized my dad wasn't normal. Dad was using heroin, and as a kid, I didn't know that he was abusing heroin and alcohol as well. My mom always said, "Hey, don't be like him," but I didn't know what that meant because I was too young to understand addiction.
Was this here?
In Hartford, Connecticut. I was born in Hartford, Connecticut. I was raised in Hartford, Connecticut, right here on Park Street area. It's just an infested neighborhood. To this day, it's very infested with fentanyl now, but at the time it was heroin. And growing up, all I witnessed was people selling transactions. Looking out my window as a child was people just doing violent things, committing crimes. So that became my norm. At 12 years old, I began to use ecstasy pills. I got caught on alcohol very early in my life. Seeing that the influences around me, it was just the norm around my area. And I began to sell drugs. That was one of my instant gratification to get things, was selling drugs. No one ever taught me, hey, go get a job. This is how you create income. It was just everyone around me was selling drugs and drinking and abusing alcohol and drugs. And for me, that led to detention centers, a lot of programs. And then I was incarcerated for selling drugs at 13 years old. Came out when I was 14, 10 months later. And that's all I knew after that. Now I'm in the Middletown juvenile facility, Long Lane, and I did 10 months there, came out, went back to the same things. I never really had a father figure. My mom was always working. I never had guidance. I never had no one, to support me.
Did your dad stay with the family, or?
So my dad stayed with us periodically, and then he would be kicked out of the home. I didn't know why mom was kicking him out, but he was getting kicked out of the home for his substance abuse. And I didn't really know why. They were beefing, having those arguments, and I never understood. I always thought mom was bad or the mean one, because, hey, why dad's always getting kicked out? Dad was loving to me. He was, like always emotionally showing me that he cared about me, but he was just caught up in the streets.
Do you have siblings?
I have an older brother, yes. And thank God, he's never really been involved with the lifestyle.
Is your dad still alive?
Yes. So dad did 20 years clean, and then he just recently relapsed. 20 years clean. And so growing, back to growing up, and I caught a 10-year sentence at 17 years old. So
what year was that?
That was 2006.
You're young.
Yeah, I'm 33, and half of my life I spent incarcerated.
Yeah.
And coming home in 2016, the end of 2016, I wanted to change. That's where I really wanted to change. And I did another year, and home, and I fell back into my addiction. And my addiction is more of the lifestyle. It was never really, yes, drugs, absolutely. But my addiction was more of that instant gratification. I was addicted to money.
Yeah.
I was addicted to power.
What do you think the difference was that your brother didn't get caught up on it? Usually a lot of times we hear that it's the younger siblings seeing it happening with the older siblings, and they kind of follow suit. But
I believe my brother was sick a lot because of his he had seizures when we were kids, and he was in the hospital a lot.
Yeah.
And he was more humble than I was. He wasn't sneaking out, of the church like I was when I was younger. He had a different set of friends, I believe. I think that was probably the biggest reason.
Yeah.
Just his influences were different. He loved sports. I could care less about anything but the street life, and just, I don't know, I wanted a reputation and to people who didn't matter.
So I've heard a lot in the news media about Long Lane. What was that experience like for you?
Long Lane was supposed to be a therapeutic center ran by DCF, but in reality, it's just a little war zone for juveniles. There's a few people that cared and really came in to counsel us and give us advice and teach us. But in reality, the classrooms were, 40 kids per classroom, and there wasn't enough attention to give and love to give to all those kids. And those classes are too big.
Yeah.
And not saying that some people weren't trying, because the teachers were trying. It's just we're out. The evil was outnumbering the good.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah. So coming out of prison, going through prison, I was still trying to drink. I was still trying to smuggle in drugs through my fiance.
Can we back up 1 second though? So 17, you got a 10-year bit.
Sentence, correct.
Did you serve all 10?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, it was
So how do you summarize 10 years in prison if you had to summarize it?
Wow. So all I remember is like getting sentenced and a year and a half into fighting my cases, and And all I remember is going back to my cell in my bunk, and I'm 18 years old, and I couldn't wait my whole life to be 18, right? And now here I'm 18, and I go back to my cell after court, and I go to my bunk, and I just said, what am I gonna do for 8 more years? 8.5 more years.
Were they mostly drug related charges?
Yes, guns and drugs were involved in my case, and I was.
Do you think it was a fair sentence?
Yes, looking back, it was a fair sentence. I accepted responsibilities in the role I played in selling drugs and carrying firearms. I accepted the role, and even if that particular moment I didn't deserve the 10 for that case, because there's good lawyers that probably would have beat the charges, but I've done so much stuff in my life that
that you did
that would right. So that's how I look at it. You know what?
Okay.
And prison was the best education I ever got. I don't have a bachelor's. I don't have a, these are the things I'm pursuing. That's part of my goals to go get an associate's, do the DART program, MCC, and things like that. But I always tell people prison was the best education I had, because I separated myself on my second bid. After I did the 10, I was still involved in the wrong things. But when I served the 3.5 afterward, so getting caught for more drug charges, that's where I began to change, and that's where I guess you would say my aha moment came. And I caught myself drinking and using drugs in prison again, and having my ex-fiance come smuggle me drugs. And I guess there I got caught inside of the prison with heroin, and that's where I ended up in solitary confinement for 22 days, and they starved us in there.
22 days?
22 days. And then you would get your lunch or your dinner around 2:30, 3 o'clock. And after that, you're not eating anymore. I would try to smuggle my orange. I was trying to smuggle some bread and try and hoard a little bit of food. And the COs would come in there and they'd take the little bit of food you got left. And it was a very dark moment in my life. That's probably the darkest moment in my life. And I had no phone, no counseling, no nothing. It's just you in the solitary confinement. And that's where I got to, the only person I could reach out to was my higher power. And that's where I said, you know what, God, I'm done. Changing my heart, changing my soul, just change everything. And I promise I'll try my best. And he answered after 21 days. When I got on my knees and I broke, as soon as I said that prayer, my door opens.
No, it
boom. Juan, you're going to population. And I think my higher power was just telling me, hey, just break.
Yeah.
Just give in. Stop being this tough guy you're not. Stop doing the things you're doing. And yeah. And it's I don't regret going to prison. I don't. It gave me a different type of willpower. It gave me skills that I can't learn in any school. It's the college. It's the education you can't purchase in Yale or UConn. And it gave me the grit that I had.
What was Mom's role with all this? What was she thinking watching her baby boy doing all this?
So Mom was one of my few supports left. Everyone left me about 5 years into my incarceration. Everyone stopped believing in me, my family, my friends. It's probably my mom and my brother that the only ones that still writing me. I had one friend still say, hey, keep your head up and things like that. But yeah, everyone pretty much gave up on me, except my higher power and my mom. She was encouraging. She was writing letters, sending a little bit of money on the holidays so I could get some soups. And it was just a lot of hunger in there. That's all I remember, is just always being hungry. Commissary was, everyone getting their commissary, but I really never had much in there. Even TVs are expensive. They're like $2.50.
You had to pay extra for soup?
Yes. So them little ramen noodle soups are about like 60 cents, 50 cents. And they're out here, they're like 10 cents. So everything's taxed. I have a passion for going, for even medical attention is so hard to get while you're incarcerated. And I have a passion for doing something about it this time, the right way. And, yeah.
I would.
So what if you have to pay for a little cup of ramen soup? What are they feeding you?
Oh, just mashed potatoes and little
Like
green
real mashed potatoes? No.
Oh, it's that stuff you just put water on. Everything's instant. Yeah, everything's
You look a big guy. You'd probably like to eat.
I see a lot of burpees and push-ups in there,
But if you're doing all that too, you need fuel.
Right,
That
right.
you must have been always
A lot of water.
hungry.
Just a lot, always. It was like you can never really get it.
So when the first day you got out, where'd you go?
First day I got out,
Yeah, where'd you go?
you
You must have gone to eat somewhere.
Did mom cook?
yeah, she did. She did. I ate pork shoulder. Roasted pork is my favorite. To this day, is one of my few addictions I got left. It's just I love that pork shoulder.
After my own heart.
Yep. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I knew I wanted to work. I knew I wanted to get a job, start building my credit, build my life. I was 31 at the time, with nothing. I went to my ex-fiance's. I was living with my ex-fiance, and I had to sleep in my car because she was back to drugging and drinking. And I knew that I wanted to remove myself, and the most difficult thing coming out of prison was removing myself from some loved ones that weren't doing the right thing. And I literally sacrificed my family, her dog, had to leave everyone in order to save myself.
So you got out of prison and you slept in your car.
I slept in my car.
So front seat or back seat?
In the front.
And you just tilted back.
And I tilted back.
You had like pillows, blankets.
Yes, I did.
I'm just curious.
I know, but I never know what you're.
Because I'm like a camper and a survivalist, and I just like to think about how people make it work.
My mom's place was still open for me, but
You said no.
yeah, I just
Pride or
pride.
yeah.
She'd ask questions like, well, you're okay? Everything's okay? Everything's okay, Mom. I'm just applying for work, going to CCAR, as a volunteer. And then, yeah, she knew something was wrong. She just, we kept praying. She kept praying for me. And, I kept applying. I couldn't find work. I couldn't find work because of my felonies. I couldn't find work anywhere. And, it was very difficult to find employment because of my drug history and my felonies.
So I mentioned to you that I'm in graduate school of social work at UConn, and so a lot of my fellow students are really passionate about incarceration and all the abuses and things. And so I've heard a lot about how there's really no transition for folks. Like you're released and completely on your own with nothing.
And that is true. I mean, we got good people of this world and that will help you with their personal stuff, but everyone has their own life also, and for someone to really dedicate time and passion into you, you don't see it at almost anywhere. And it was like, hey, Juan, figure it out. I maxed out a sentence, so I didn't have probation or parole. I had no structure, I would say.
Yeah.
And
And you're 31 when you finished your last
And when
bid,
you're
and you went in at 17 for your first.
for my first bid, yeah.
Outside of the
27.
system.
and when you were let out the last time, what time of day was it?
It was around morning, 9 a.m.
And where did they bring you?
They brought me from Uncasville, the prison in Corrigan.
Way up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because, something I skipped in my story is I renounced from my affiliation of my gang
Yeah.
while I was incarcerated. I had to go to chow hall and renounce from people that I sat at the table at and I was affiliated with. And for me to, my life is in jeopardy every time I went to go eat chow. Sometimes I didn't want to eat chow because I didn't want to deal with those people. And, I went through a lot of backlash for it. Oh, you're supposed to put 20 years before you drop out of our gang and things like that. And, so I was afraid, but I also built up the courage to change.
And how old were you when you went when you joined the gang?
I was 21. I joined them in prison just for survival. I didn't want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
It's just you either this or this. Pick a side or get kicked out.
So between Long Lane and then your adult incarceration, you've pretty much grown up incarcerated.
Absolutely, in the prison system.
So how do you catch up in this crazy world of ours once you're released?
He didn't finish my question. I just wanted to ask him. He got brought from Uncasville to
Hartford County, and then they just leave you in tans. They said kick you out the front door.
Tans?
Yeah, in tans. I think they do sweats now.
Where?
Oh, right there, right where I work at now, where Restaurant Depot is.
Yeah.
Down the street, it's a county jail on Jennings Road.
Oh, yeah. And they drop you off.
They drop you off,
And they drive away.
give you a phone call
You get one phone call from
the county, from inside.
Yeah.
And then you contact your ride, and
Hopefully
you've had, but I was just gonna say that. Hopefully you have one and get off our premises.
Okay.
You know, there's a gas station there. I don't know. You can go over the bridge and enter the city. They give you like this paper ID, so you can get like one free bus ride, or a couple free bus rides is in the paper IDs, and then so you could go get identification also. You can use it as a form of identification. It's just your mug shot with your government, your social.
And you don't even have any idea on you of any.
Nope. Just a bag, some mail, some personal photos.
And just drop you off and say, good luck.
Good luck. Figure it out. And if you have a probation or parole officer,
You got to go there
you got to go there first
and figure out how to get there.
and figure out how to get there.
Yeah, that's an amazingly poor picture. But anyway, I'm sorry, honey. Go ahead. What was your question?
Well, just that you grew up incarcerated, basically. You grew up all those formative years of learning how to be an adult and be independent. And now here you are, dropped off and figuring it out. And it's only, is it 3 years later right now?
Right. So I got out in 2019 and September. I went a month without work. October 31st, I got hired at Restaurant Depot. And then, like I said, I struggled with finding employment. This is every day looking for an employer. I was hungry to change, motivated. I couldn't find employment. With the Valvoline, they shut me down. I went to the hotels, they shut me down. Anywhere, all across Hartford County. Transportation wasn't. My mom gave me like $2,000 for a car that I ended up sleeping in for a little bit, and that's all I had. Had nothing in my pocket. I got hot, and I kept going to Restaurant Depot because it was close to home, and I heard they were felon friendly, so I just kept showing up. They didn't have no room for anyone. I kept showing up. They're like, "Hey, we're full. Come back, after Thanksgiving." I was like, "I can't wait till Thanksgiving. Please, just give me a shot." And then I met this gentleman. Andrew, hiring manager, branch manager, and he gave me an opportunity. Right before he left Restaurant Depot, he said, "You know what? I was his last hire. I don't know if he knows that, but I was his last hire." And he ended up going to Walmart or wherever he went to. And I got 2 promotions. I earned 2 promotions there. Just like I said, I'm not the smartest person in the room. I always say I'm not the smartest person in the room, but it's very few people that will outwork me. I'm going to outwork everyone in this room. And that's how I make up for that, that IQ. I know how to, my EQs, I got a high EQ, so I know how to manage my emotions today.
Yeah.
I'm strong with managing my emotions. Juan before used to get upset and react. Now I can slow it down. So with managing my emotions became a better pathway of my recovery for me than having an IQ. My EQs was what's most important for me.
How do you know you don't have that? Why do you say you're not the smartest person?
Well, because speaking on a corporate level, I'm with meetings with guys that have, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, sort of say, and I'm in meetings.
So somebody with a degree is smarter than you. Is that what you're saying?
That's the stigma that America. You're saying America. Oh, yeah, I guess I did.
I'll just speak from my own perspective of being in grad school. I am not smarter than you, Juan. I can assure you of that. I find it, the contrast between how you made money on the streets and now you're working this routine schedule. You kind of know what to expect. I mean, just the intelligence to navigate the streets and navigate prison is probably worth more than a PhD. So give yourself credit.
Well, it's like emotional intelligence is divided into two areas: how well you know yourself,
Correct.
and how socially aware you are too. So I would say you're probably really socially aware. You had to be. That's what you learned.
Absolutely, and that's where I pride myself in, and I'm humble about it. But I just know that I know what I'm capable of. I used to make a lot of excuses why I can't do anything. My addictive thinking used to be like, "Well, you can't do that." My addictive thinking made me apply for meat packer, but in reality, I took culinary arts courses in prison, and I should have been applying for meat manager. But my limited belief led me to think, let me just get a job. You know what I mean? And yeah, then I have the confidence. My self-esteem was very low coming out of prison. But when I look at it from now, I'm like, hey, when I started working at Restaurant Depot and I became the meat manager, I'm like, so much better than what I thought I was.
Yeah.
I know the cuts of beef. I know the business because of what I used to do in the street. And that translated to Restaurant Depot, and I was so far ahead of,
Why do you say your self-esteem was low?
I just doubted myself a lot. I didn't know if I was capable of getting even a job, just everyone turning me down.
Well, that sounds, I don't know if that has to do with your self-esteem. It has to do with the system you were dealing with, right? Because you knew, and this goes to your intelligence, that it would be very difficult for you to get a job.
Correct.
You knew that.
I did.
And so it was more probably fear and doubt and anxiety or uncertainty of the future than
self-esteem. Yes. Yeah, you're right, because I am a little confident person, but
you can be confident and humble.
And humble, yes,
you can be. Yeah.
Do you think that anything from when you picked up, could anything have happened in your middle school and high school years that could have changed that?
That's a great question, Sandy, because in middle school, I was getting good grades. I was like in a high honor class.
Oh, wait, you were smart?
I was getting
something must have changed, because
when I was
messing with you.
I was playing two sides. I loved the streets, and I stayed right after school. I do my homework in school on my downtime just so I could go play in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And in middle school, I think that was the turning point where I started to get in trouble, and like really hang with the wrong friends. I'll just stay outside, and I think if I had a sport or something to have fun, because I was a kid, I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
And my fun was getting in trouble, but I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. It was just what people were doing around me. So if we had like a basketball center or somewhere we could go have fun, because Hartford, for the city that we are, I love Hartford, but it's really nothing. There's no bowling alley. You got to go to East Hartford. It's really nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have money,
Yeah.
Our money, you can do whatever. But we were poor, so where was the safe haven for us as children to go? There wasn't any safe havens for us to go. I mean, there's a basketball church that we ended up finding, but by then it was a little later. We were already teenagers and already picking up our crime and our felonies and things like that. And everyone around me has cases, and they're doing a lot of time in prison or they're dead. There's probably one or two that's really doing the right thing. And And coming out, I'm just so grateful for CCAR. It brought me to prison brought me to CCAR. CCAR has connected me closer to my higher power. Recovery's brought me back to my higher power. I always knew what my higher power was, but recovery's brought me back to my higher power. And I tried the 12 steps while I was in prison. I completed them. I still have, I loved what I learned from it, but it felt like everyone was shoving it to me. Like, hey, this is what you do. It's like shoved in my face.
Yeah.
So what's your recovery look like now? How do you take care of it?
So discipline is real important for me. Discipline is the foundation of my recovery. When I wake up every morning, I have to get on my knees and I have to say a prayer to my higher power, which is God. My higher power is God, Jesus Christ. And I have to get down and I have to give him my will. Because when I take my will, I'm going to screw it up. I'm going to find a way to screw it up. It's just what happens. So now my recovery is based on giving it to my higher power in the morning, doing my Zoom meetings.
What do you mean your Zoom meetings?
I do some Zoom meetings through CCAR. And,
recovery meetings?
Yes.
Yes, gotcha.
I do my recovery meetings. Every once in a while, I'll visit another meeting if I have time. I do 60 hours as a restaurant depot meat manager, and then 60. And I've been volunteering at Hartford Center for a couple years now, on Mondays and Fridays. And then I have a newborn baby, and she's 5 months. So that's part of my recovery, is just staying busy and staying focused and being kind. But what's big in my recovery is being kind, because I used to always be mean. And I used to always be
I don't know. It's so hard to believe that.
I might have a little mean streak in him.
I love being kind to people.
More. It's just remnants of it. I love that. I love the idea of being kind. I think that's so important, especially as a recovery coach. When in doubt about what to do, we often say, do the next right thing. But if you don't even know what the next right thing is, do the next kind thing.
I like that.
And that's sometimes a little easier to find. I'm not too good at it, am I? Well, you teach best what you most need to learn. That's all I can say about that.
You are a much kinder human now than you were 20 years ago.
Oh, I would say so, no doubt. I hope you change, work in a program of recovery over many years.
There was a time Phil gave a sermon in a church many years ago about the Care Bears. Do you ever remember what a Care Bear is? Yeah. All about the Care Bears. Kindness, Care Bears. Do you remember that?
I do. It was like they had those little lights in their soul.
In their tummy.
In their chest and their tummy. And the more you fill yourself with spirit, the brighter your light is. And the more kind you would be, right?
Right.
Yeah, so... And I think they kicked me out of the church.
You need a more creative spirit to have Phil in leadership. Yeah.
They quite have the mold. So you talked about being addicted to the lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But would you say there was any substance that got hold of you as well? And how did you overcome that?
So with alcohol, absolutely. With alcohol, I was violent. I was violent. I was always getting into fights and being involved in a gang. There was always something going on, some gossip. Someone was selling drugs in our territory, and I would drink before, being violent. I would drink before we had to, fight other people or whatever it may be. And alcohol played a big role. And not only in being violent, but also when I was home by myself and I got in my feelings and I had to suppress some feelings, I turned to alcohol and ecstasy pills.
When I drank, I never knew which guy was going to come out because I wasn't much of a fighter. I lost all the time, and I wasn't much of a lover, but I would be a fighter, a lover. I could cry a lot. I could tell jokes. I never knew, but when I drank, I never knew which guy it was going to be. Could never safely predict the outcome of an evening either. I could end up in bed or I could end up in handcuffs. I had no idea.
Yep.
What?
That's interesting. We're going to have to do that on another session, how many times you ended up in handcuffs.
Okay.
But back to Juan.
The last time I took a substance was 2018 in prison.
Yeah.
And I made some alcohol. And,
Mm-hmm.
I used to clean out the hand sanitizer. There's no alcohol in prison, so I had to make my own alcohol.
You made it out of hand sanitizer.
And
How'd that taste?
we had to decipher the hand sanitizer by putting salt into the sanitizer, and then it kind of cleans it out, not completely, but it kind of extracts all the stuff from the sanitizer.
And leaves the alcohol on top.
Correct.
Yeah.
And all the filmy stuff gets on top, so you got to filter it with a t-shirt or we used to use our bed sheet in prison.
Yeah.
And then kind of cut a little square sheet and then just put the sanitizer through and take the alcohol content. And then we mix it with juice or something to make it taste better, some type of powdered juice. And then we'll be with the COs go by and we're just drinking our juice and getting drunk.
Did they care? Or did they?
They didn't know. So
They did pretty good.
there's probably one or two that well, yeah.
They didn't have gallons of hands.
They didn't have like gallons. It was just hey, we're going to rack. Go see if we see the maintenance worker, or that which is an inmate, the janitor.
Did you get drunk off of that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Strong. Well,
Yeah, it's real strong, just a little bit.
I'm gonna have to, now you're getting mesmerized by this too. I'm gonna have to hide all the hand sanitizer.
that's part of it is like fast. I don't want to try making it alcohol out of hand sanitizer. It's amazing how creative people can be in circumstances to get what they need.
Yeah, my addictive personality made sure, we got our fix, even incarcerated.
That wasn't good. So you poured the alcohol through, right? You just poured the powder in, or was there water too? Did you just?
No, just as soon as you apply the salt into the hand sanitizer, it automatically is gonna start to. That's what it do, and
Then so the alcohol comes out, and you have it in a cup or a glass.
filter it into a cup.
And then did you put powder in there, or did you put water
We put water
and powder?
and then powder,
The juice, got
the
it.
juice. Correct. Because it would only make the sanitizer would only make only a certain amount of alcohol, but then you mix it with the water, it's still pretty strong.
Okay. All right. I'm done with my inquiry.
Thank goodness.
So, yeah, you're leaving Restaurant Depot, and you've got a new role. What might that be?
So yeah, Monday I start EDRC,
Which stands for.
emergency department recovery coach. So I'm so excited.
They're going to let a guy like you into the emergency department to coach others?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who hired you? Who would ever take a fee on that?
Right.
I think that's beautiful. One of the things we've heard from other recovery coaches, though, that have been formerly incarcerated, that have been in the gangs, is that you might see some friends in the emergency department, right?
Right.
Former friends, former gang members.
Right.
Do you think about that and how you're going to approach that?
I think that's why I waited for the few years. Being employed for CCAR has always been my dream. After John Schwartz brought the curriculum, we facilitated the curriculum when he was gone to the peers in the therapeutic community, and I was able to facilitate some of the CCAR curriculum to the inmate, to the mentors. So I was a mentor in prison for about 13 months, maybe 14 months. So I already faced the things that I would face out here, the backlash from the former gang friends and things like that. I already faced all of that in prison, which was the most difficult because you see the leaders and the most violent of. So now when it translated into the community, I see people at Walmart doing my daily shopping, my groceries, but I'm a new person today.
Yeah.
And people ask me for drugs. I used to sell drugs, so they ask me for drugs, and I'm like, and I preach my recovery. I say, hey, you want to come to CCAR? Like, I promote recovery to them too. I think everyone deserves a chance at a second chance, and a third chance, and a fourth chance. I'm a new person. That you know me as Tito. I'm Tito from back then. Like you know, that's Tito. That was my nickname growing when I was a kid. And I'm a totally different person, and everyone already knows. There's nothing to hide anymore.
Yeah.
You know, my social media, I don't promote the same things I used to promote. I don't dress the way I used to dress. I don't speak the way I used to speak. I completely made a 180. And I just don't involve myself with anyone anymore if it isn't positive. I literally went through my phone a few months ago, and I told myself that this person is not asking for help. It's not like asking for coaching, or this person is a negative person. I'm just gonna remove you. And I went through my phone removing people that from my past that I want no association with, unless you're asking for help. And if you're asking for help, I'm open to help. But if it's not a conversation that's positive or beneficial to put daily deposits into my life, I put daily deposits into my life every day. Whether it's stop cursing a little less or stop eating that pork shoulder a little less. Like I always try to make every day count as best as possible.
Do you think that your former community that you ran with on the streets, do you think they understand recovery? What the word recovery means?
That's why I want to attack it.
Yeah.
I want to go head on with that culture, that different culture, that urban community culture that all they praise is violence and drugs and partying, and that's why that's why I'm so passionate about this new field, this new career. Eventually, probably transition onto something else, but I knew I needed to get with CCAR to make change because I don't think they understand.
What does recovery culture mean to you?
Recovery,
What is it?
I think it's just a better way of, for me, it just means a better way of living, doing the next right thing. Being able to, for me, is being able to provide support for those who need support. Like iron sharpening iron, I read this curriculum while I was in tier 4. It was like, like the recovery community is like geese when the geese used to fly in a flock and the flying V, and they're traveling and one gets weak, it alternates to the back. The geese goes to the back. If one falls, then one would come down and make sure stay with them until it dies, and then it'll catch up to the flying V afterward. Well, I think that's how the recovery community is for me. If one of us starts to slip up because we're human, then we have to communicate. Hey, how are you? Hey, you doing okay? Why you skipped this meeting? Hey, you were at church today. It's just about reaching out, and like for me, my power is being kind. You could be mean to me all you want. You could curse at me. I gotta stay in my character. I gotta stay in my emotions, and I gotta be kind because that's what my higher power wants. And it's not about making people proud anymore for me. It's about what I'm doing behind closed doors to make my higher power proud of me.
Well, thank you, Juan. It was a real pleasure getting to know you today.
It was my pleasure, and I appreciate the opportunity from CCAR and from everyone in my life, and I'm just grateful, and thank you, Sandy and Phil, for the opportunity to share my story.
Yeah.
Thank you. God bless you.
You will help many.
Thank you so much.